Paul. See, a bunch of different locations where we're from tonight. Nebraska, Santa Cruz, California, Missouri, France. Keep dropping where you're tuning in from. But, a little bit about myself real quick, just for those who, don't know me on here. My name's Blake McLean. I'm a full-time 20-year-old student athlete out here in Lincoln, Nebraska. And I got started within this industry about 8 months ago. And honestly, just since getting started, it's changed my life. Just learning from people who have exactly what it is that you want and being in such close proximity with these individuals is something that honestly is priceless. So, I want you guys to know whether you're somebody who's brand new, somebody who's been here for a couple months, even a couple years, you're in the right place at the right time with the right people. And, we have some amazing special guests on tonight's call. I'm not going to be the spotlight of tonight's call, but I've been doing this for, just under a year now. And because of individuals, like Brandon, other educators like Donnie, Nick Gomez, other people in the space who've been doing this for years on end, I've been able to become profitable at 20 years old. And it's something I never would have thought in my life, right? That I'd be profitable this fast because of these resources and these materials. So drop a fire emoji real quick. If you guys are enjoying the scanners here at GFU, Trendwave, Golden Era, obviously, the new Quantum scanner, which is about to get broken down tonight. All these scanners are something that are so beneficial, right? It completely takes away that emotional, psychological side of trading. And it's really something that's just a beneficial tool for anybody starting out in the space, right? So I want to bring up, an individual who is our special guest for tonight's call, the first speaker. And he's somebody that, I've only been on a call with one time, but just seeing his energy and his passion, his age is something insane. This guy came into the company within a day, went director. For those of you who don't know what director is, it's $10,000 a month. Pretty sure within a week he went sapphire and then emerald. He's almost, diamond. He's just accelerating through ranks. He's married, has 7 children. He's also a top educator on the platform, guys. So, and he does this thing in all aspects, building the business, trading, and he's honestly just a great guy. I can tell just by his energy, he's somebody who you want to follow. He's a true leader, and he's somebody that you can count on, regardless of, what it is. So, I want to bring up somebody that, who I'm going to have the privilege, get closer with, obviously, but Mr. Brandon Boyd, welcome to the call. And, I appreciate you being here and taking the time to pour into all of us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that, Blake. And Blake, if you are in Lincoln, you must be a Cornhusker because my dad graduated from Lincoln, Nebraska. He wrestled at Nebraska. We're Nebraska Cornhusker football fans. Now, it was a little more fun to like them in the 80s and 90s, winning national titles and stuff like that. But that's awesome that you're from there. So,
That's awesome.
guys, look, I'm really, really excited to be on this call. This is such a great time. And Blake was talking about the ranks. And I was looking at my rank last night, and it said that I was around like 100 people away from Diamond or something like that. And so it's like, bro, why have you not hit Diamond yet? You've been here 4 weeks. What's your problem? You've got to be washed up. Maybe it's just time for me to put the cleats away, put the helmet away, take the jersey off, and just say, dude, I'm done. You didn't go Diamond in 4 weeks. What's your problem? Well, what I will say is that we've brought in just over, let's be fair, 4.5 weeks, 5,761 people as of 1 hour ago. All right. So teams are exploding, things are growing. It's not about what I can do. It's about what we can duplicate. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like we don't just want to be successful. We want to help you guys be successful. And one of those ways that you can do that is through trading. Because let's be real, and I've actually said this to people for years that sometimes being an entrepreneur, direct sales, network marketing, it's hard. Now working a job for 40 to 50 years is hard too. But this is not always easy on the business side. It's not easy to crack through these ranks. But here's what I will say. You actually have an even greater chance to be successful learning how to trade. Now, it doesn't mean trading is easy, but to me, it is fully scalable with no ceiling on your income. You can take it to any level that you want to. Being able to multiply your money, make that money work for you, best thing I've ever done. Trading is the best thing that I've ever done. When you couple these two things together, passive residual income with that compound effect of making the money work for you instead of you just working for the money, making money like banks and stuff like that, this is the most powerful thing that you can do. I didn't do well in school. I only went to 2 years of college. I didn't do well with geometry. Algebra didn't even make it to calculus. That's how bad I sucked. I was in speech class for 7 years. I can tell you, if I can do this, you guys can do this. Now, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, I presented trading to Dr. Lee. He'd already gotten his medical degree. He was a doctor. Imagine if I'd been like, I don't know, man, he's already in the top 1%. I don't think, you know what? He's not even going to have time to trade. So why even talk to him about it? He's busy seeing patients. I mean, imagine if here's this guy, he's on my chicken list, which is just too chicken to talk to these people. And I'm like, nah, he's busy. He's already in the top 1%. But I take my chicken list and I'm like, you never really know what's going on in those people's lives. One thing that Dr. Lee was lacking was he just didn't have enough time. He didn't have residual income. He wasn't having his money work for him. He wasn't able to see his family as much as he can today because he truly didn't have freedom. So that was something that he was missing in his life. Now he has more time today than he ever had before as a doctor. That's not a claim. It's a change of what you're doing for your lifestyle. That's the difference. It's making a conscientious choice to change what you're doing for your life and say it's not just about the money, it's about the quality of life that I want to live. It's about time. A lot of times we're thinking about make more money, make more money, it's not just about making more money. It's about getting time, and time is the currency of the earth. And one of the ways to get the time is you need residual passive income. You need to have money working for you instead of you just working for money. Now, look, it's no problem to work for money, but at some point, that ESBI quadrant from Rich Dad Poor Dad, you got to get on that right side. You'll never control 95% of the world's wealth if you're on the left side, because that's where 95% of the people are, but they only control the 5%. So I made a decision years ago, I'm going to get on the right side of the quadrant. So today, I'm in the B quadrant and the I quadrant. I'm an investor, I'm a business owner, and I want to take everything I've learned and share it with you guys. I'm turning 45 June 11th. Man, I had a person, they reached out to me. This was weeks ago. They were like, hey, I heard you were retiring from that. I'm like, retiring? You heard me wrong. I'm not retired. I'm refired, and I'm not going to let up, put up, or shut up till the Lord takes me up. I got like another good 10, 15, 20 years where I'm just going to be like this. This is about duplication. This is about impact. This is about contribution. This is about making a difference in the lives of people around the world. And I don't know of a better way to do it than to teach people entrepreneurship and teach them how to trade. And I believe in what we provide with Quantum. We just released it like 2 weeks ago. It's already in 6 languages. We're going to have it in 15 to 20 languages. You can trade any asset type, any time frame, any strategy using Quantum. We have over 50,000 Masters Club flyers. Those are recognition flyers for people that are trading. 50,000. That's a lot of flyers. We believe that what we teach and the tools that we provide, that it can help you guys be successful. So we want to do an intro to it tonight. And then when that intro is done, we're actually going to get on to the live charts. We're right now in the Asian session. We want to show you live opportunities in the market using the Quantum scanner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring on my good friend. He's the man I trade with each and every day. We met back in college. Now he finished college. I didn't. But we met back in college over 20 years ago. In fact, it's been 23 years ago at this point, which is pretty crazy. He's the man I trade with each and every day. I was just asked on a Zoom we just did, hey, are you guys actually using your... Yes, we use Quantum for our own personal trading. We are not hypocrites nor a double standard. We use that which we teach. And so he and I use it every day. We trade every day. We teach on GFU Live every day, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. You guys can tune in. All the sessions are recorded. You've got the files that have the different languages. You also have the courses, which has a 1 day boot camp. So when you have this tonight, you're also going to have our boot camp as well. I'll be dropping that inside the chat. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the time over to my good friend, the man that I trade with, who is now a trader. He is a GFU Live educator. Dr. Lee, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brandon. Just want to do a quick check, make sure you guys can hear me just fine.
Yep, you are good.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great to be with you all. Thank you, Blake. Thank you, Tommy, and everybody who has facilitated this call, making this happen. I really appreciate it. And it's just always a pleasure to be able to share our message, share the tools that we have developed. And I want to make it really clear as to why we have done this in the first place. As Brandon had mentioned, when we met over 20 years ago, we were actually in a health class together. We were in college. We were wondering, what the heck are we going to do with our lives? And we didn't even know each other at that time. He had been in New York and Kentucky previous to that. I was here in Utah. We're sitting in a health class going, what do we do with ourselves? Right. And he luckily he came up to me, introduced me to this wonderful world of actually network marketing. And we've been friends and business partners ever since. So we've done a lot of different things throughout the years. But here's a key that I want to share with you. There was a point at which I went back to school. I became a doctor, as he pointed out. And so naturally at that point, and if any of you have ever had maybe a friend, a coworker, somebody that you worked with where you kind of were friends for a time, you kind of went your separate ways, and we didn't have like a breakup or anything like that, but we were on separate paths for a time when I was going back to school. And so when I became a doctor, was working, I was doing quite well. Brandon had mentioned how he eventually then reintroduced me to trading. Now, naturally, we knew each other, but it was still, in a sense, an emotional risk for him to say, "Hey, you should check this out." And I know many of you, as you think about people that you may want to talk to about trading, about building the business, or any aspect of this, that a lot of times emotionally you feel a little bit apprehensive. And what I would suggest to you is that you never know who is ready and who is seeking for more in their life. You see, you might think, oh, looks like their life's already good. I had multiple children. I was busy. I was actually making good money. I was well established in my own career. And so I wasn't like the prime candidate to say, hey, walk away from what I was doing for work and go become a trader and deal with this industry. That I was not that prime candidate. And Brandon did not know either way whether or not I would be interested or not. So even though he knew me from all of our previous years together, he still had to take an emotional risk to say, check this out. I really think you'd be good at this. And because he extended that, and because I did respect him, I thought, well, I'll check it out, see what it's all about. But he had no guarantee that I would be interested. And I share that with you because I know many of you are on the business building side as well. And you're sitting back and you're thinking, I know so-and-so, and I know this person over here. But they're already successful. They're already making good money. They're already in an established career. That person's a dentist. This person's a doctor. That person's an attorney. I don't think that they'd want to do this. This one is already successful in real estate. I don't want to talk to them. They'll turn me down. Just like the trades that we take every day, there's always a possibility of failure, right? The trade might lose. The person might say no, but the day that you decide not to talk to them is the day you actually fail. It's like not taking the trade. You will lose every trade you never take, right? You're not going to make any money if you don't ever take a trade. Similarly, if you never open your mouth, you'll never have that opportunity to get a yes. Brandon didn't have a guarantee to get a yes. In fact, he had talked to me back when he was in a previous company. He even had huge success. He had so many people in his organization and everything. And he had told me about it many times. And I never took him up on the offer to get involved. And yet he didn't stop. He said, hey, check this out. He planted that seed. So my short encouragement before we get into the quantum scanner is just a little bit of a plug to make sure, and don't be afraid. Open your mouth. You'll get a no to every person that you never talk to. Right? So make sure you open your mouth and encourage them to at least consider this. And it may not even be the business building side. It may just be trading, because you never know how much it might bless their lives. My life has truly been transformed because he simply was willing to open his mouth. That introduced me to trading. It got me involved. And truthfully, all the way to this day, I'm really not that involved per se. Like I don't have a downline, et cetera. But ultimately, I love trading. I love teaching people, and I want to support everybody as they're learning how to trade and build their business. And so in any case, that's kind of my story, my involvement. I love doing this. I now just trade and I teach, and that's all I do. So I left my previous profession as a doctor to do this. And so it's been a joy ever since. And as Brandon had pointed out, a big part of what I sought to gain from this was I really just wanted to get my time back. I was working, but I was working all the time, right? I was making good money, but I was working all the time. So it's been nice to be able to do something where it's more on my terms, my time, and I get to dictate when I trade, when I'm with my family, and when I'm helping and building the business and those kind of things. So in any case, great times ahead. We're excited for each and every one of you to also be able to participate in this industry. So with that, let's get into the quantum scanner. So I'm going to go right into a screen share. And I want to share with you a number of things to help you understand what this is all about. So in the world of trading, you need a way to be able to understand where price is likely going to go next. And while nobody truly can say at any given moment that yes, price is going to go up or yes, price is going to go down, there are ways and there is information that's available in the chart, in all of the data that exists, that can give us at least a strong indication. So what we've done over the last decade is we have analyzed the markets to understand all of those contributing data points to automate a process that can help you to see price direction, price phase, and ultimately price action to help indicate not only the direction the price is likely going to go, but when it's likely going to go in that direction. And these different tools that we've put together, which collectively combine, make up the quantum scanner, can help to simplify the trading process for you. That's the entire goal. And so let's go through just a few of the basics. This PDF guide that I'm going to show you tonight is available. You can actually go to our channel. We have this available currently in 6 different languages. So if you happen to even have team members that are in a different language, Italian, Spanish, Polish, Arabic, and French, I think are the 5 other languages other than English, but we're going to have even more. We'll eventually have at least 16 total languages so that this is supported around the world. So you can access the quantum scanner at gfulive.com/scanner. So basically, if you log into gfulive.com, there on the left-hand side, there's a little, almost like a computer chip icon that has access to all of the scanners. I'll show you that tonight, but that's how you access the quantum scanner. But let's talk a little bit about how it works. Now, we wanted to keep this as simple as humanly possible. And so part of the way that we wanted to simplify the analysis process was to direct you in a given direction. Right? So if you're looking for buys, or in other words, you're expecting price to go up, we look for the blue indication. So in the chat, go ahead and type blue buys. Okay? Those 2 words, blue buys. The reason why this is because we're looking for the blue indications when we're looking for buys or expecting price to go in the upward direction. Now, for sells, we're looking for the opposite. And I'll go through each of these tools, but I want to make this simple right up front. For sells, or if we're expecting price to go down, we're looking for the red indication. So in the chat, go ahead and type red sells. Okay, red sells. So blue buys, red sells. These 2 colors simplify the process and help to, in a sense, weed out all the other possibilities of what price is doing, et cetera. Now, when you begin to see these 2 colors blend, so let's just say you see some red candlesticks, but you're seeing blue triangles, or blue candlesticks, and you're seeing red triangles or dots, et cetera. That means that the markets are in consolidation or in a transition zone. And I'll point out some times where we see that. So let's now talk about each of these specific tools, what they mean, et cetera. So to do this, I'm actually going to come to our slide number 6 here. We're going to talk about conditions for a buy. So when we're looking for a buy, the first tool that we're going to look at is the macro phase arrow. Okay, so this big triangle right here, this blue triangle, indicates that we have now entered into a buy phase. So we just call this simply a blue phase, which means that we're only looking for buys. Again, blue buys, right? So we get an upward triangle that indicates, hey, price is now transitioning into an upward phase. And so we want to look for those buy opportunities. The second confirmation for direction is our primary trend line. So when that big trend line there that's kind of glowing is blue, that indicates that price is above its average and we're okay. We're good to go to look for buys. Now, if we saw a blue macro phase arrow, and then we saw a red primary trend line. Once again, there's kind of that dual information is saying, well, one's up, one's down. So they kind of cancel each other out at a level to indicate that price might be in a bit of a transition, okay? So that's kind of a simple way to think about it. The next tool to help to indicate the relative strength of that direction, because price is not always in a strong uptrend, it's not always in a strong downtrend. Sometimes it's in consolidation. And so during those times, how do you know whether price has a strong strength in the upward or downward direction? And so we developed the Master Strength Panel. This is a proprietary and unique strength indication that tells you on any asset in any time frame what the relative strength is of price movement at that given time and in which direction. So you'll see in the upper right-hand corner of the chart, you see this little scoring panel. It includes arrows, trend arrows for each respective time frame, everything from the 1 minute time frame chart all the way up through the weekly. Now, for those who are brand new, you're thinking, what's a different time frame? It's just showing you how much price data on the chart. So weekly, that means each vertical bar represents a week worth of time. On a 1 minute, that means 1 minute worth of time of price data is represented in each vertical bar, okay, of price movement. Now the score is on a 0 to 100 point scoring system. So higher scores mean upward strength, lower scores mean downward strength. So it's not just, high, low score, it's directional. Higher scores, greater than typically 55 or greater, ideally 60 or more. That means good, strong upward strength. And that means price is more likely to head in that given upward direction. For a downtrend, just to point this out on the strength panel, we're looking for scores that are in the lower range. So if that box is red and we've got scores lower than 40, that means price is generally strong in the downward direction. All right, so that's just a little bit about the strength panel. We'll go through that in a little bit more detail. So again, back to just looking for buys. Again, we've got our upward blue macro phase arrow, the primary trend line, which is blue. And from there, how do we look for actual entries? There's a couple of indications that we've used to make this as simple as possible. To identify a trade entry location, we developed what's called the quantum oscillator. This oscillator includes this blue shaded zone down here, the red shaded zone, and then it has this white oscillating plot line that goes up and down. Whenever that plot line is in the blue zone, what that says is that, hey, price is in an area where you might consider a buy. But how do you know whether or not to take the trade and when? So to simplify this process, we've given you a couple of additional tools that will tell you exactly when to consider the trade. The first is called the microwave dot. So these dots track small little waves in the marketplace. And so in an uptrend, if we see that the oscillator's in the blue zone, we simply wait for a microwave dot to form, and that can indicate that price is now moving in the upward direction. The second potential trade entry opportunity is the micro pullback tool, which shows a blue triangle in an uptrend, indicating that price has pulled back against the trend on a little bit more of a significant basis, and then right before it's likely to head in the upward direction. The final tool is called the micro arrows. These actually show up on each candlestick, and they're really designed to tell you, are we currently in an upward bias, downward bias, based upon each candlestick? And this can help to assist us in identifying transition zones. So for example, on the left side of our screen, see how there's those red bodied candles, but there's blue arrows underneath. So the micro arrows are blue, but the phase or the candlestick color is red. What does that mean? That means you're in a transition zone. That's kind of, think of it as like a no trade zone. So we typically don't place trades during that time because price is in transition. There's reasons why price could go up, reasons why price could go down. And so we just kind of stay out of it. We wait for that nice alignment between the colors to make sure that things are in the same direction. Okay. Now, we'll talk about the macro trend line and the micro trend line here in a minute, but just simply put, these are trend lines. These are diagonal structural levels, support and resistance, if you will, that help us to identify potential breakout locations. So if price breaks above a blue macro trend line, that indicates that price may continue to head in that upward direction. If price breaks above a a dashed micro trend line, similarly, it indicates that price may head in that upward direction. Okay, so each of these tools are designed to guide you to look for buys in an uptrend. For a downtrend, it's the same, but kind of the opposite direction. Now we're looking for the red indications. Again, red for sells, blue for buys. So in a downtrend, we first look for a red macro phase arrow or a triangle indicating that we're now into a downward phase. Second is the red primary trend line. So when we're below that red primary trend line, that means price is moving below its average and is more likely to continue to head in that downward direction. To look at the relative strength of the trend, again, our master strength panel makes this crystal clear. If we've got down arrows across the time frames, if we've got lower scores, less than 40, and that cell is red, that indicates that we've got strong downward strength and that price is more likely to head in that downward direction. And that's a real-time reading, and it works on any asset and time frame. So if you want to trade crypto, it can work on that. If you trade on indices or even stocks, commodities, Forex, etc., you can get the strength measure as well as the trend direction across the time frames on any given asset of your choosing. All right, and then for looking for actual trade opportunities, notice the quantum oscillator sell zone. So now we're looking at the red shaded area. Once that plot line goes into the red zone, that indicates that now we're in an area, that trade entry location, when price might head or where it might respond before heading in the downward direction. Once that occurs, similar to a buy, we're now looking for either a microwave dot or a micro pullback triangle, indicating potential downward movement. And so those will show up at various times all throughout the trend, but coupling the oscillator with either the micro pullback or the microwave dot can indicate the exact time to actually enter the trade. Again, the micro arrows tell you on each candlestick what the relative bias is. Is it in the downward direction or upward? And can help to identify, again, those transition zones. So look here on the left side of our chart, we've got blue candlesticks, right? So that was a blue phase, but notice how it has red down arrows during that phase. Again, that indicates that, hey, there's some dual information here. We even had a red primary trend line. So that means that's a no trade zone. That means we're not really looking to place any buys or sells during that time. Again, that is a transition zone. It really helps to clarify that trade timing. One last thing before we jump over to the live chart to show you some examples of how to actually use this is the master strength panel. So again, higher scores, typically above 50 at a minimum, but typically above 60, that indicates strong upward strength. Below 40 indicates strong downward strength. You'll notice that the box or that rectangle behind the score itself will either be colored blue, gray, or red, indicating that price is either in an upward strength bias, a neutral range, which would be the gray, or red, indicating a downward overall strength. So that color coding helps to indicate whether or not price in a real-time basis has an upward strength, downward, or a neutral basis to indicate whether it might be consolidating, retracing, etc. So again, it's meant to just kind of be the overall picture in terms of the overall strength of price movement at that time. Similar to if you looked out the window and you looked up at the clouds and you said, is today going to be a sunshiny day, a cloudy day, etc. It's kind of giving you an overall picture of that given asset to say, are we overall in an uptrend, downtrend, or is there kind of some mixed as we see in that middle example? All right. So again, this PDF is available on our channel, and there will be other educators who will make it available as well, but you can access it and learn more about the quantum scanner. So now let's go over to the actual live chart and talk about some very real world examples. So here this is the euro to US dollar, and we've just entered into the Asian session. Now in the quantum scanner, you can actually see the beginning of the session marked by these horizontal lines. Now, why are there these multiple lines? This identifies automatically for you the first 5-minute opening range, the first 15-minute, and then the first 30-minute. Why is that important? Because ultimately this can indicate which directional bias the market may have during that earlier part. So when this Asian session opened, we initially had a breakout and had a blue phase indicating potential upward price movement. But eventually that has now transitioned right at about 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a new influx of volume, and we had a bit of a transition of phase in this particular case, and which is very normal. There's a new influx of volume. Things can change at those times. But the cool thing is that the quantum scanner automatically identifies this for you. So in this particular case, how would we actually identify a trade? So let's go through that. Right here, we get a red macro phase arrow indicating that we're only looking for sells. We look up at our scoring system. Hey, we've got scores below 45. The box is red. We've got some similar time frames that have downward trend arrows. So things are looking pretty good alignment for potential sells. As price broke out below this recent structure, it's kind of retested. How do we know when to actually enter a trade? Again, simply put, we look down at our oscillator. Notice how it's in the red zone at this point because we're in a red phase. And then we simply wait for either a red dot or a red triangle. So our first one was right here. That's our red dot, and our red triangle shows up on that candlestick. We had another one right here. These help to indicate that price is likely going to head in the downward direction. So again, it's that simple. Make sure you're in a red phase, make sure there's some decent alignment of your overall direction, and then look for potential trade entries based upon the oscillator in combination with either a red dot or a red triangle. Okay, let's go to some other assets and show you a few more examples. This next one, this is the Australian dollar to US dollar. We have a bit of a transition zone. We can see this with our blue micro arrows in combination with this red phase. But let's just keep this simple and talk about the specific rules. So right here, we have our macro phase arrow indicating that we have now transitioned into a red phase. So simply, if we were going to look for a potential trade opportunity, we wait for the oscillator to go into the red zone like it did here. And then we look for either a red dot or a red triangle. So where did we get that? Our first red dot was right up here. So that at the close of that candlestick would literally be the sell opportunity to indicate that price was going to head in the downward direction. So that's how you can use the phase, either red or blue, in combination with our quantum oscillator and a specific trade entry timing, either the microwave dot or a micro pullback triangle. They are two separate events. That's why they're separate. It can help to indicate when prices pull back against the trend, measuring different aspects of price movement. That's why they're separate, and can indicate potential trade opportunities. All right. Let's look at the US dollar to Japanese yen. We actually just had a new little opportunity here. Here's your blue macro phase triangle, indicating we're now in a blue phase. So we're only looking for what? Buys. Notice our primary trend line is blue. Here's times where the oscillator has gone into the blue zone. Our master strength panel indicates higher scores, lots of time frames with upward trend arrows. So things are in actually quite nice alignment. On this candlestick here was our first blue dot. So that would have been our first opportunity for a potential buy based upon that indication. All right, again, look at the oscillator, wait for a blue dot or a blue triangle to form, and that can indicate when price is ready to go in the upward direction. Now, with the Asian session, which is what we're in right now, typically there's not huge trending activity. So my personal favorite sessions to trade are either the London or the New York session. Most of the time for Brandon and I, just because we're in the United States, we trade the New York session, but you can do this on any session. Just recognize that the Asian session tends to have a little bit more of a, you can say, a range. And so you may not get quite as much distance potential out of an initial market opening as you might on a London or a New York session. Okay. So here's another example. This is the euro to British pound. We're literally just going down through our list. There's never any cherry picking in our approach to this. We got a red macro phase arrow. Here, the oscillator goes into the red zone. We had several more opportunities here and here. But again, we don't enter a sell just because the oscillator's in the red zone. That's simply a starting point. After that occurs, we're then looking for either a red dot or a red triangle. We got both in this case right there. We also got another red dot here after the oscillator went into that zone. And so both of those could have served as potential sell-based trade entry reasons, either for short-term scalping or fixed risk to reward ratios. Now, naturally, a common question is, well, where do you put a stop loss? That bridges us into a little bit more of an advanced aspect of trading, but typically there's one of two approaches that you can use, either a structure-based stop loss, which means that you're looking at a previous pivot point or a given pip count. We also have a volatility band, which includes this upper gray zone and the lower gray zone, which represents our overall volatility range. So if we were choosing what we call a volatility-dependent stop loss, we would simply measure the vertical distance of our volatility range. And if we entered, let's just say on this red dot here, because that would be a legitimate sell-based trade entry reason, our stop loss would go at the opposite side. Entry would be at the closure of that candlestick, and we'd be riding the wave downward, either for a short-term scalping move, anywhere from a 2-to-1 all the way up to a 1-to-3 risk-to-reward ratio, typically, depending on your overall strategy and what kind of risk-to-reward ratio you're targeting. All right, so that would be an example of a volatility-dependent stop loss, but there's a number of different approaches, and we teach those on our daily sessions. Okay, let's go to a few more assets. In fact, let's go to commodities here to show you some variation. So this is gold. We recently had some nice uptrending activity here on gold. You can see our recent blue phase that began back here. Plenty of opportunities for the buys on the earlier part of the Asian session, but now things have transitioned into potential sells. We got a new red phase. Price, the oscillator moves back into the red zone. You can see a couple of examples there. And then you're just simply waiting for the red dot. We got a red dot here, here, and then right there. Okay, so no red triangles yet, which is just fine. Against the system automatically identifies these things, but every one of these positions would now be headed in the right direction simply by identifying these key turning points, right? So again, quantum is doing all this work for us. You don't have to. And again, this is highly, highly advanced. We have integrated a combination of our many years of market experience and understanding combined with artificial intelligence technology to automate the analysis process so that you don't have to figure this out on your own. You can rely on tools such as our master strength panel or these entry opportunities. I mean, look how price is just dropping right now. But you don't have to say, well, I would have taken that trade. You can now identify objectively those exact locations where you could enter in on the trades, understanding what it would end up looking like. Okay. And so on any asset, so let's say you wanted to trade something like Ripple. Let's go to Ripple. Now, a lot of people trade cryptocurrencies. They're trading on higher time frame charts, such as the 1 hour, 15 minute, etc. Now, Ripple's kind of been in a bit of a, you could say, a range overall for the last little bit, kind of ranging between $2.20 up to about $2.40. But we're currently in a red phase, at least according to the 1 hour time frame chart. You can trade any time frame chart you want, but ultimately this is what the 1 hour time frame chart looks like. But notice a couple of things here. So let's give you some examples. So red phase, so we're looking for primarily sells. We look at our primary trend line, it's red, so further confirming that we're looking for sells. We look up at our strength score, notice what it says. Score 40, 47, 48, and the box is gray. What does gray mean? Neutral zone, or meaning consolidation or retracement. What are we in? We're in a bit of consolidation here. Price isn't really going anywhere. So if we were looking for strong trending conditions, would this be our best bet? Probably not, right? But we could, even if we did look for some short-term scalping moves, what would that look like? Well, after this red phase arrow formed, you can see times where the oscillator moved into the red zone, and then we're simply either looking for a red dot or a red triangle to form. So right here, we got our first red dot, boom, price has dropped off. Here's another time price, or the oscillator moves into the red zone, get our first red dot, boom, price starts to head in the downward direction. Now, we don't scalp crypto a whole lot, but again, this is just to illustrate you can really use it on anything you want. You can even use it on stocks. Let's show you what is going on with Apple. And let's go to a different time frame. Let's go to kind of a shorter time frame just for kicks. So recently, this is Apple on a 5-minute time frame chart. We've got a new blue phase arrow. So what would that mean? That price is now headed in the upward direction and relatively neutral score. So it kind of explains why we're seeing price be a little bit flat on this. But even still, blue phase. So what would we look for? Oscillator to be in the blue zone, blue dot. Look what happens. Boom, price heads in the upward direction. So the tools are simple. They're powerful. Doesn't matter what assets you want to trade. Let's look at Tesla. Okay, blue phase. Look at these blue dots. Blue dot right there, blue dot right here. We just had another couple ones right here after our oscillator was in the blue zone. Boy, lots of opportunities. So it doesn't matter what you want to trade. You want to trade the NASDAQ. You want to trade US 30, S&P 500, gold, commodities, platinum, you name it, you can trade it utilizing quantum. So this gives you tremendous versatility. We didn't want there to be any limitations in terms of what asset you want to trade, what time frame you want to trade. Our personal preference, we love the short time frame. So Brandon and I, we trade on the 1-minute time frame chart. We trade on a lot of foreign currencies. We also trade gold and several indices as well. For when we're in crypto, it's usually more like a buy and hold kind of approach. So it's more like position trading. But if you're looking to trade on an active basis, boy, quantum can give you the tools that you need in order to better understand what's going on in the charts in order to make this as simple as possible. So type a 7 in the chat if it feels to you like Quantum is going to simplify the analysis process to point you in the right direction, to help you to know if price is moving strongly in the up or down direction. And if you feel like you can do this, type a 7 in the chat. We appreciate each and every one of you for letting us tune in with you tonight and to share some of this information. Now, one of the questions that Brandon, I think, had even mentioned is people always ask us, is this actually what you guys use? Absolutely, it is. This makes our life so much easier. Now, we've used all the principles that are built into quantum for years, but as our understanding has improved and as our ability to integrate it into an automated system such as quantum has been able to be formulated, oh my gosh, this makes our life easier. It's kind of like saying, well, you could ride your bike, but I'd much rather take a car because a car is going to get us to our destination a lot faster. And so, could we do this without any tool? Yeah, we could, but it would be a lot harder. This is so much more simple, and it helps to keep emotion out of our trading so that we can ultimately be consistent with our own results. And we know that that's what you all are looking for as well. So, with that, Brandon, I'll turn the time back over to you just for a moment. But thanks, Blake and Tommy and everyone else for having us on tonight. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Awesome. Such an amazing training. And guys, every time that I look at the charts and everything that Dr. Lee was going through there, I just get more excited because when I see the charts, I see opportunity, right? When you learn the skill, that's why we call it master the skill. When you learn this, that means there's opportunities in the market for you. And so the more that you use it with good, proper risk management, we believe that you can be successful with it. Now, I mentioned that I have 6 children with one on the way, so 7. So one just got home. She had 4 different tryouts today. She loves to play soccer. And Jasmine, what team did you make today?
Celtics.
So Celtic is the hardest, like it is the hardest team to make. It's like the top level in the whole state, right? Why don't you show me your big muscles?
It's pretty much like hitting boots
Gosh.
on
Is she on steroids? She must be on trend. Anyway, she literally just got home. She's been out since this morning grinding. Guys, dreams do come true, whether it's making the Celtic soccer team, which is very, very difficult, or making it happen with trading. You guys can do this as well. And you can actually free up the time for yourself to maybe even attend some of your kids' games if you have any kids. I mean, how many dads, when I go to these games, the dads aren't, so many of the dads are not even there because they're having to work all the time, right? We want to make sure, like we talked about today, and get that time back. It is okay to work hard, but we want to make sure that you're able to spend time with the people that you love the most. So, Jasmine, super proud of you. Great job. Looking forward to seeing the games and great accomplishment. So, guys, we really do hope that you have enjoyed tonight's training. And by the way, Blake, maybe she will make the Lincoln that she'll make the Nebraska Cornhusker soccer team. If not, she'll be playing at BYU in Provo, Utah. So anyway, back to you, Blake. Appreciate you, man.
Guys, let's give it up for Brandon and Josh. I mean, who's going to start using the quantum scanner? Because personally, I actually took a trade off this last week and, hit like a 1-to-3, 1-to-4 risk to reward ratio. So, even like I've realized using the quantum scanner, even pairing it up with other scanners for double confirmation, it's like a hack, man. But, really just giving it back to these two individuals. They didn't have to take the time to come on here tonight, share this with us, but, really giving it back to them. And let's make sure, if you guys aren't utilizing, the products and the services and the wonderful educators that we have on the platform, now's a good time to start.
And
Brandon,
Blake,
Josh.
if you give me the option to do a share screen, I want to show you something that's pretty cool
Yep.
here. I'm going to open this with preview. So,
Should be able to share it.
okay. So let me go ahead and do a share screen with you guys because this is super powerful. Because as Blake was talking, it actually reminded me of this. So let's expand this. So one of my good friends who actually just got started, he's actually a network marketing beast. He just joined the company like a couple of days ago. So he was trading the S&P 500. You can see down here where he actually got in the trade. Anyway, he goes, bro, I didn't realize how awesome the quantum scanner is. He goes, this is the trade that I took this morning. And then it did exactly what you guys were talking about on your session. So he trades S&P 500. And this is coming from somebody who's traded for over 20 years and traded with Charles Schwab. And I'm not going to tell you, I've actually seen his live accounts. I can't tell you because of the claims and all that stuff. But the bottom line is that that's coming from somebody who has traded for over 2 decades and is a very successful trader. And he's like, bro, I didn't realize how awesome the quantum scanner is and how precisely accurate it can be for you as well. So anyway, I'll turn it back to you, Blake. I just want to give that plug real quick.
100% appreciate you, Brandon. But yeah, guys, I mean, like he said, the proof's in the pudding. It works if you work, utilize the products and the services, and let's honestly have a great trading week. I know Donnie has a couple sessions still left in the week. I'm personally going to run a trend wave scanner session at 8:30 Central Standard Time, 9:30 EST tomorrow morning. And then, of course, Brandon will be live tomorrow. Nick will be live tomorrow. So we have tons of people to tune in with. So let's crush this week, guys. More results, more profits. Go out there, crush it, and appreciate you again, Brandon. So let's have
Yeah,
a great
absolutely. Thanks, guys. Have a good night. We'll talk soon.
peace out, y'all.